Barb, you left me hanging on the high harmony there.
If you ride, you get it. Geico Motorcycle.
Oh, that was loud. I'm sorry. I didn't turn the volume down. There's already 9 people here. It must be Friday or something. Good morning. Sorry about all that noise. Goodness gracious. What the hell that? No, I know what it was. I was looking at an article. Dark side of the moon mystery grows of massive crater theory debunked. I'm not even sure what that is, but we might actually look at that. That's not what I want to talk about. So that was playing in the background. I apologize for that. It must be Friday. Got all these people here. Is my microphone even on? All right, my mic is on now. Public video, share it out. Good morning, people starting to come in. People get here early on Friday. On Friday, people, it's like work. I remember people used to go to work on time Fridays. Fridays, everybody's at work. Why? Because it's Friday. You get to be a human being. You feel like you're a human being. I want to talk about flying fish today. Flying fish. Got a couple good discussions this morning. Thinking. I spent the whole morning virtual listening to one of my gurus, going through some thoughts, trying to figure out how do we get out of this mess? How we got into this mess, who we are, what we are. And I don't think we are what we are. I don't think we are what they say we are. I think we are birds. Well, let me put it this way. If you are a bird and you were born underwater, are you gonna fly or swim? Now, don't be a smart A. Assuming that you got an oxygen mask, you're gonna look around, you're gonna see the fish, and you're gonna go off to compete. With the fish, how do fish compete? You'll start using your wings. Swim, damn it, swim. If you're a bird born underwater, and I think we're birds born underwater. I don't think we know what we are. I have to go back to some of my posts because I don't even remember half the stuff I was posting this morning. I was just going through thoughts. I listen to gurus and teachers, people a hell of a lot smarter than me, talk about philosophy and spirituality and all that good stuff. I have to go way down in my post to figure out where the hell this started. Oh, that's where it started, right there. All right, put that right there. Good morning, everybody. Hang on. Uh-oh. I don't see the emotions. Where are the emotions? Have you guys brought your emotions this morning? Everybody bring it. I don't see any angry emotions. I need to see emotions in the morning. It's emotions make the world go round, y'all. Money, because money makes the world go round, and money knows how to use your emotions. I was thinking about this is where it started off. This thought process that we're birds born underwater, and we proceed to have no sense of self and swimming like a fish with some wings. We don't know what human beings are. We don't know what children are. We don't know what humans are, but we are born into conflict and competition. And we don't need to be in competition with fish, because damn it, we ain't fish. There go, it's angry emotion right there. We're not fish. That's what the spirituality is telling us. That's what ancient archaeology and the ancients and everything. You're not fish, damn it. You got wings for a reason. You got wings. Fly. I believe I can fly. It's supposed to fly, but we're born in economic systems in debt. So we proceed to go off and fight with the other humans in conflict. It's like capitalists fighting capitalism. Anybody here got a bank account fighting capitalism? Huh? I do all the time. I got a bank account. I literally got capital in my pocket right now. Get out here and fight some capitalism. Oh, we're going to take it down. But it's selective, right? I'm not trying to fight capitalism completely. I ain't fighting the capitalism in my own bank, in my own pocket. I'm not fighting the capitalism I need to eat by. But we're born into these systems that make us sellouts and hypocrites. Oh, so what were we talking about? We were talking about this whole kids in the cages stuff, because I guess, I don't know, they're going to try to impeach the guy because they're putting kids in cages. And I'm like, what is a cage? A cage is a limiting structure, a structure that limits the capability of a thing. And what is an economic system based in debt? Outside of foster care and putting kids in cages, going back to the very beginning with the Irish and British, African, Native American, putting kids in cages is how you get a bird to swim. That's how you do it. And I think in this analogy, we need to be flying fish. But anyway, we were thinking about that. I was thinking about what child on this planet is not born in a cage? Which one? Someone show me one. Who wasn't born in a cage? I want to know. Who wasn't born in an economic system that forced them to swim with fish and they think they might be a bird? They might be spiritual. They might be wave energy. They might be a creature capable of phenomenal things and be limitless. But damn it, they're at the bottom of the ocean. Can't see no light. They ain't swimming towards the light. See that in there swimming with the fish. I just think humans are perfect things, and I think you break them. I think you shouldn't give them identities. You shouldn't imprison them in their mind. I think that was the whole idea of Morpheus, right? He was a flying fish. He'd fly out the water. He realized that he could fly. Because if you're at the bottom of the ocean and you are a phenomenal, limitless spiritual creature in a 98% monkey body, you're not even going to try to fly. You're gonna be a bird underwater. You're going to try to swim. Why? Because you got to swim. You got to have a bank account. You got to get a job. You got to go to school, send your kids. You got to embrace slavery. Why? Because that's what everybody else down there competing are doing. And if you don't do it, you're going to die. All right, that's where I'm going with that. So I don't think there are any kids not in cages. All the kids are in cages. And I'm not saying don't fight for the kids in cages. I'm saying fight it on principality. Don't fight it on timing and emotionality. It's just the timing and emotions thing. It's like, oh, we're upset. He's putting kids in cages. I'm like, literally, your bank account is why kids are in cages. But, we won't do it. All right, let me turn the music off. We'll get into a little bit of a discussion. Happy Friday. I don't know if it's going to be Flip the Friday or Facetious Friday. I don't know. Somebody give me another big word. Who knows? We might flip it and just do the reverse. That was kind of fun. A couple Fridays ago, we did that. We did the reverse. We started talking like everybody else. But the human race is under occupation. Under occupation, y'all. We're occupied. Occupiers. so we'd all get occupations and send our kids off. Y'all go get some occupations. It's okay. We're being occupied by occupations, but go ahead. We're all slaves. That led into a lot of good discussion this morning. Let's talk about Chicken George. Y'all know who Chicken George is? Anybody know who Chicken George? Chicken George thought he could be master. I'm hot. Is anybody hot? Come on. I'm hot. It's a little too hot for this. I gotta take my jacket off. Gotta have a jacket. Can't buy nor sell. I can't be a bird swimming with the fish if I don't have a jacket, if I ain't shaved, if I ain't look good for the damn queen and the king. I got it because I can't look like I was born in flea bottom when y'all slaves. I have to. But that damn thing is hot. Damn it, I'm a bird. I want to fly. Right. So anyway, I just think that we break kids at birth. I think kids are born and they're these perfect creatures and we give them our struggles, and I think it's stupid. I think it's stupid to give the next generation our problems. I think it's dumb. I think it's foolish to give the next generation our identities. They don't need our identities, right? They need to be left the hell alone. They don't need your ignorance, all right? They don't need it. They don't need it. They don't need it at all. Identity is what keeps us at the bottom of the ocean with some wings. Because we ain't never gonna learn to fly because we don't even see the light up there. We're in an economic system enslaved to socialism and capitalism. People don't like that because they got that identity, want to get out there and struggle. I'm just like, you don't understand. The nations are literally socialist kept, right? The resources are doled out by 100 families that own every damn thing. And you're fighting for socialism. You don't get it. You are in a socialism global model, and you're in struggles in a capitalistic model Mainly because you're a damn bird swimming with the fish. Trying to fight over some damn shrimp and worms at the bottom of a gas vent under the ocean, and you don't see the light at the top. Let me show you a picture. Let me show you a picture. There's a whole lot of stuff on my mind. I don't even know how I'm gonna get it out. It's just so much in there. I don't know. You see the size of my head? This big old head? There's all kind of thoughts going in my head this morning. We were discussing this stuff early on. Let me show you a picture that kind of led down this analogy I was thinking through. Where is it at? Where is my, hang on, right here. Look at this, check this out. Check out this graphic. It's this one right here. Yeah, right there. Bring it forward. Boom. Bring it forward. I said boom. Don't you hate you go boom and nothing happens? It's like boom. I didn't press the right button. Look at this. Check this out. Morpheus left the Matrix, came back to the Matrix. See, one day, I don't know, I'm gonna throw this out there. One day there was a bird under the water. There was a baby born in America named Morpheus. And one day he just started questioning things. I don't know. Say that baby bird ended up in a place where there was a lot of food and abundance, and it had time to not use its 5 senses for survival, and it just started doing something called thinking. Like, I'm sitting here underwater. I can't really swim real well, but I got these wing things. What the hell are these things for? I got feathers, and I don't even know. Like, this doesn't even work good in water. I don't know. Something happens, I don't know. He saw some light, looked up like, oh, damn, the hell is that? And he started swimming up. I know, I'm making a story. I'm just putting it out there. It's where my mind is going. And it swims to the top of the water. I don't even know why y'all watch me. Y'all must be bored. I had no life. Swim to the top, and what is this? Start smelling oxygen. What the hell is this? I don't know. He's got a pressure suit, some oxygen tank or something. And that's air. Oh, wow, look at this. And his wings start drying off. Like, look at this. Oh, my goodness, what the hell is this? And it learns how to fly. Oh, my God. We're not fish. We're actually birds. We're not actually 98% monkey. We're spiritual creatures that are capable of limitless, phenomenal things, but we've never discovered air. So we're down here swimming in the debt-based, fiat-based, central banking economic systems, slaves of socialism and capitalism, all the isms that control us, because we don't know our own identity, because we've been given pride. We've been told that we shall become the masters if we work hard enough. And Chicken George, you can't work hard enough. Somebody already mentioned this roots. Chicken George, I know, you can fight all the chickens you want. I know, you get them chickens. When we were kids, used to call money funky chickens. The funky dividends, I got some chickens. And then Chicken George, love your job, don't you? Huh? You want to get close to master? I know. You want to be in government? I know. You want to be a leader. You want people to follow you. You think if you fight the chickens good enough. Don't make me find a picture of Chicken George. You think if you study hard enough and you get enough degrees that you will become the master. And you can't. They actually created that cage for you. They put you underwater as a bird so you would teach your kids to be a bird. I'm gonna go further in this analogy. Giving a child the adult's problem is like handicapping them. Right? Child is born with no state of mind, is blind to the ways of mankind. Y'all know that? Y'all know that. I know sometimes that's old school, so don't worry about it. Child is born blind to the enslaving ways of mankind in economic systems and banking and debt. And we got mama birds plucking its wings. We got mama birds plucking feathers. Mama birds and daddy birds too, pulling the feathers like, you don't need that one. You don't need that one. You don't need that one. Handicapping them, giving them their identity. You are white. You are black. You are American. You are Christian. You don't need to fly that high. Damn it, this is the life that you need to have. And I'm asking a question. What kind of parent would do that? I know an indoctrinated one, but what kind of parent, when they think about it, would do it? What kind of parent would handicap their children and give them a struggle from hundreds, if not thousands of years ago, or from their lifetime, knowing that baby's gonna have its own struggles? Why would you handicap a kid? Why would you break your child's leg and send it out there as an American, as a black person, as a white person? as an Asian person? Why would you break them down, force them into a narrow, bigoted mindset, and send them out in the world that you know is going to use that to control them? Why would you handicap your children proudly from birth instead of telling it is a powerful, infinite creature, limitless, that it's a bird born underwater? Baby, get out the matrix. Swim to the top. There's oxygen. Use your wings. I like this graphic. Because it kind of says something to me. You know, when I think about it, you got the fish learning how to fly and the birds learning how to swim. Why would you have that in nature? Resources, struggle, survival, sensing, everything. All your five senses are about filling your belly. And once you're full, you can think in the sixth sense for a little while. You can think about what you really are, as opposed to the struggle of us being here, born into an environment that you don't belong, a cage for your mind. Does that sound like Morpheus? Did I say that deep enough? A cage for your mind. I love the Matrix. I think it explains a lot. The resources, right? When the birds can't find enough food, they got to dive in the water. When the fish can't find enough food, they got to jump in the air and grab an insect. World conflict. When the Palestinians don't have enough resources, they got to run back into Israel. When people in Nigeria can't find enough resources, they got to run somewhere else. I just got to pop up a few seconds ago about something in some conflict in the world. Some conflict, I don't even know what it was. We would jump out of our environments to rob each other. And I think it's the job of the most successful robbers to fix it. How do you know you're among the most successful robbers? Well, the business language of the world is English. Just think about it from that perspective. The business language of the world is English. If most of the people in the business world speak your language, then you are ancestral of the thieves. Okay. My ancestors stole everything from all over this planet, and we're doing great. We can stop the fish from trying to rob the birds and the birds from robbing the fish if we share what we stole. And that's kind of a tie-in from yesterday. But that's kind of where my mindset is. You'll never be Chicken George. Chicken George, you will never be a master. You will never be among the masters. Our only way out is freedom and respecting the freedom of each other. Our only way out is understanding children aren't fish, that children are birds. They have wings, they should fly. They should not be in competition with one another. There's no reason for them to be in competition with one another. There's no reason for this education system and this conflict-based system for finances and debt. There's no reason for them to be in conflict with one another, only that we're just ignorant. I was listening to a good talk from Saj this morning, and I posted on my other page, but he was talking about how the best you'll become is based on what you're in conflict with, right? If you're in conflict with morons, the best you'll be is moron plus one. That sounded like a wedding, didn't it? That's the best you'll be is moron plus one. If you're in competition with all morons, because you don't know that you can fly, right? If you're in competition with fish, you're just going to try to swim harder. And that's what these kids are unfortunately enslaved to by us handicapping them, plucking their feathers, instead of them just going out in the world being free and finding what they are. We force them to be the best fish they can be. Is anybody picking up that analogy? We force them to be the best American they can be, the best British that they can be, the best Scottish that they can be. Y'all like them accents? Instead of the best human being that they can be. All right, that's my analogy. That's what I was thinking about for this morning. Oh yeah, somebody posted something about home ownership. They were excited that they just became a homeowner. I was like, yay! Where you live at? America. I was like, okay. And I'm nice. I'm not like shaming anybody. Think about it like this. When somebody's laughing, if they love you, they're not laughing at you. They're not laughing at you. They're laughing at something ridiculous, perhaps, in your mind, which is a garbage dump for society. It's not what you are. It's not yourself. They're laughing at something shameful, perhaps, that you've adopted, something ignorant. They're not laughing at you. And if anything, it's not shame, it's trying to inflame you to become better, to rediscover yourself and get rid of that mind garbage dump that the media and your birth and identity and your parents have put in you. But so I just looked at it like home, and I'm like, what's the use of owning a home in America if you don't own the land? Like literally the kings and the lords, the government still owns the land. You don't actually own anything. You own some sticks, some concrete blocks, but you can't put them on anything. You don't actually own anything. You literally don't own. You own things that got to go on things, and you don't own the land thing that the thing has got to go on. What's the point? I'm not saying don't buy a house. I'm just saying the ridiculousness of the system. How do you keep everybody in conflict? How do you keep them starved? How do you keep fish trying to fly like the birds and birds trying to swim like the fish? Conflict. You don't actually own the land, so you'll never be free. Never be free. It's kind of, so I joke with stuff like that. But I don't think people are, we're not out there to shame you. We're out there hopefully to try to get you to see that we all embrace ignorance. I remember people used to laugh all the time. I thought they were laughing at me. I didn't know what central banking was. I just knew what I was talking about. I thought I knew. And I ran into Ron Paul and the rest of them and started realizing what the Federal Reserve is. And to be honest with you, that was 12 years ago? And I'm still just starting to understand the depth of the concept of a Federal Reserve and central banking and all of the damage that it does in keeping people in conflict. One of the things that Saj Guru said this morning, I'm reading some comments, that you cannot roll your eyes. You can't roll your eyeballs inwards and scan yourself. You can't roll your eyeballs inside and scan yourself. You can only scan everybody else. So you look at everybody else with love, and you don't chastise them. You try to bring them forward. You try to act like a hive. You try to help people that you love because we're all family all over this planet. But then you let them scan you too. You let them scan your mind. I was able to let my friends scan my mind, right? The garbage dump for society where they just dump all that crap in because I've got an identity. And when you have that identity, everything that's identified with that identity seems like a good idea because your mind is attached to that identity. And I let them start picking through my mind, just pulling out the garbage, laughing a little hard. Just start pulling it out. Because I can't turn my eyeballs inside and look at myself. I can only look out at everybody else. And that's why I think the human race was designed to be a collective ecosystem, not a competitive one, a collective one, working together. But of course, we're these birds right here, and we're hatched underwater. And we never will discover what we are unless we allow each other to kind of scan each other, figure it out. And not just scanning you for you and yourself, but scanning your group. Being able to let others scan you and scan your group and identify problems so we can fix them and move forward. So the Morpheuses that become flying fish can dive underwater and come and try to expose more birds underwater so that there's light above and that your wings aren't made to swim, that your love isn't made to love selectively, to love the identified group that you were born with and hate everybody else. You don't have love to use it to apply it selectively. In that analogy, love is your wings. You're supposed to fly. You're supposed to apply it to everybody. Why do we have that infinite ability for love and empathy, but we only use aggression and selectiveness? I think the human being is limitless, but the human being was given limits for power. I think we need to free the kids. I think we need to free the kids from all the cages. I had a title up here, it disappeared. Get some comments and see what y'all are talking about. That's what I'm thinking about this morning. Happy Friday, people. Where is it? The ugly fish is in there. That is a ugly fish too. My gosh. Whew. We don't have to, let's do it. All right. Be Morpheus. There you go, be Morpheus. Be the flying fish. Duck in and out. Don't leave people behind. Go back in the water. Make jokes. Make jokes about their ridiculousness and pull them back out. I think comedy is a way out. Stacy said, not me, I'm broke. Stacy, you're not broke. We're saying the same thing, you're poor. And nobody in this society is poor by choice. It's It's not a choice to be poor. It's not a side effect of being lazy. Being poor, it's literally you were placed there. People were placed. You can be poor financially, but you ain't broke. I seen your post. You ain't broke. Nobody's broke. Broke is a choice. You want to be broke? That's your intellect, your critical thought. You can be broken, but you have to choose to stay broken. But poverty isn't a choice when you're born into a debt-based society with cronyism writing regulation. Why? Because they regulate you into a class, and you're not supposed to get out of it. Now, 99.9% of people will not get out of it. Every now and then you'll have somebody who'll do some class mobility, but if you were born in a nation that's fiat currency-based central banking, cronyism writes all the laws and the regulation, everybody keep voting for these damn idiots. Poverty is not a choice. You are there and you will not escape it. That's how the education system is designed. That's why the prison system is where it is. Indeed, we are all in the prison. We're all in prison, Christine, and we can't get out till we love each other enough to let each other, to try to explain to each other we're all birds trapped under this ocean. That's why it's called crushing depths. Go ahead, Lori, feeding into the analogy. And that's why I think we're not birds at the top of the water. See, if we were at the top of the water and we had hopey changey, we could see our way out, and we could actually see, we could get out by working with each other. We could see the light coming through the water. Then we'd want to get out. We'd figure out what these wings are for, but they put us at crushing depths. Deep. Every American child, every British child, every Canadian child, all the Western children born in immense debt that they have to repay. But they got wings. I was born in a cage and I blew that cage up with my mind. And that's how you do it, Stacey. Exactly. That's my point. Is with your mind. That's how we escape. Is from within yourself. It's a realization. It's not a struggle. It's just a realization that human beings are limitless. It's a realization that being in struggle with one another is stupid. It's a realization that we don't need to be in competition with one another because we got enough things competing against us. And I think there are positive conflicts, right? But it's not with your cousins. It's not with your cousins from another nation. It's nothing stupid like that. We have a damn universe that we're in competition with, okay? We got creatures and things out there that we don't even know anything about that's competing against us. Why in the world are we in competition with one another? We need to realize ourselves and realize each other. So you can blow that cage up. It's easy, but it's within yourself. Like when my parents ridiculed me for having imaginary friends. There's nothing wrong with imaginary friends, Hunter. I don't know how many. I got imaginary friends all over the place. I got all they don't have no names, Hunter, but listen, I talk to myself. We have questions, we have arguments. Sometimes we have a party. Nobody else is around. We're in the shower or something. We sing to it. Oh, listen, you have to do what you got to do. You got to imagine. You know what that reminds me of, Hunter? It reminds me of the story they were talking about the monks in the Tibetan caves, that they lived in such a harsh climate environment. I think I posted a documentary about it, that they started to go within themselves. Like they just lived in a climate that was hard to breathe, hard to grow food, barely any water, arid yet cold. And they went within themselves. They created joyous worlds within their own mind. And that helped walk them into that sixth sensing. And that's why we have all of these monks that come out of the Tibetan caves. And we're all born in crushing depths. You got to find your joy where you can. But then that's the pharmaceutical industry, though, right? And that's why they drug everybody. Because they try to get everybody to be okay being Chicken George. They try to give you some drugs so you're okay being enslaved. You know what I'm saying? If you haven't watched Roots, you got to watch Roots. That's how all of this fits in. Chicken George. Oh, we need more jobs. We need universal basic income. You'll never be mastered. They print the money. They print the money. You cannot beat capitalism, crony capitalism, with capital. They print the money, and it's not designed for you to. Your kids will be slaves for their kids. Sorry, I missed that one. I was in jail for a DUI. Okay, Stacey Jenkins, we're gonna have to get that fixed. You know better than to take their intoxicating free. Did you hear what Hunter just said, Stacey? Are you paying attention, girl? Go inside your mind, make some imaginary friends. Do anything that's sustainable to make it through the crushing depths. You know, alcohol is not bad. Drugs aren't bad. Anything that's within limits, to me, is sustainable and bad. Anything that doesn't get you in jail for a DUI is a good thing. But that's a sign that you just dial it back a little bit, just a little bit. You know, like I've got my friends who smoke that cannabis. You know, cannabis can be helpful and it also can be harmful, right? It becomes a crutch. It's a bad thing. Chicken George, the cockfights. Right, and that's who he was, Laura. He did the cockfights. I can pull up Chicken George quotes, but might get in trouble for it. But that's what Chicken George, he was a slave. I'm sorry, I didn't even say who he was. He was a slave, and he was close to master. And he thought that master would finally accept him. He was a Democrat. He thought the DNC would finally accept him. He was a Republican. He thought the GLP would finally... He felt if he fought enough chickens and the master appreciated him, the master was making a lot of money, he was fighting the chickens and he's, master, we doing good, we're working together, master, I'm gonna be you, I love you, you love us. He was a citizen thinking that his government actually cared for him. And he found out later that that's just not the case. You're not one of them, you'll never be them. You're not in the club. It's a big one and you ain't in it. Because I was having a thought on that one too. It's like, what would happen if all the citizens of the world finally decided, you know what, we're gonna bring this guillotine out. They went to France, we didn't get to France. They went to France. Because I like the Statue of Liberty. You know, I like the Statue of Liberty. Because the Statue of Liberty, it was probably the greatest troll in the human race. They literally put a Muslim woman, they put a Muslim woman that stood for freedom in a nation that was being enslaved. I think France knew back then that the whole design for America was to enslave all the Americans after they murdered everybody else, and that's what happened. Dang it, I forgot where I was going with that. All right, well, we need to keep it. Evolution. Yes, Victoria, we need to evolve and we need to move forward. Oh, no, France, and the guillotine. There we go, it came back to me. I need more coffee. What would happen if the world's citizens decide, you know what? What if they took on the pharmaceutical industry we take on, the way they took on the plagues? What if we decided, you know what? We're done with this. You know, the way they took the pit bulls and they put them in the rice stills to kill all the mice? They created something called a terrier race of dog to save them from the bubonic plague. And it saved them from the plague so the mice weren't in there eating the rice, pooping on the rice they were eating. What if we decided, you know what, we're done with this human plague stuff. We're done with autism, we're done with cancer, we're done with leukemia, we're done with cardiovascular disease, we're done with all of these environmentally regulated crony diseases that never existed at this degree. And we said, we're gonna take this guillotine. We went to France, got that guillotine out. Was that, oh, that brother Jonathan? I know he's got one, he's got a guillotine in his basement. And we dust that sucker off like, you know what, this is what we're gonna do. We're kind of done with this plague thing. So we're gonna take these guillotines and we're gonna hang the top 20 of every political party every year until the plagues go away. Until diseases that whistleblowers have been telling us since the 1940s that they've cured, but those cures would have been suppressed and disappeared. The pharmaceutical industry that makes synthetic drugs that flips your DNA that causes these diseases. Whatever the hell's being sprayed out of the airplanes, whatever's in the food. What if we just decide, you know what, we're not going to discriminate. The top 20 of every political party, because we know you're all oligarchs, we know you all work for corporations, you're all going to get the guillotine. How quickly do you think disease would go extinct? How quickly? But then again, you got to be a bird. You have to realize you're a bird and you're not a fish. You got to stop being in conflict with one another, and you got to realize that these diseases are all environmental. They're all coming from the environment, the water, the food, the side effects of the synthetic drugs, and the suppression of cures, because these big party politicians at the tops, not the small ones, are all taking money from the corporations that are poisoning you while they send billions of dollars overseas. Hunter said, just woke up. It's 6 here in Oregon. All right, well, good morning, Hunter. Say good hi to Bigfoot for me. I think Bigfoot might be Gigantopithecus. I just feel bad for kids today. They are isolated in their gadgets, being helicoptered by their parents instead of out riding bikes, hanging out with their friends. Right, Eileen? Well, outdoors is where we're from. Outdoors is where we're supposed to be. Outdoors is what gives us love and makes us feel good. Outdoors is where we evolved. Outdoors the leaves, the shapes of the leaves, no squares, no cages. Oh, back to the whole putting kids in cages. You know, our kids are born in cages and we teach them just go out and buy a bigger cage, baby, but you stay in a cage. Don't ever go be free. Stay in a cage. Stay in a cage. And when you get your job, stay in a cage. Go to school, go to another cage. Get a caged mind, get indoctrinated. You know, cage, putting all these kids in cages, and all of a sudden, a president puts a few kids in cages with a law that everybody created and agreed on. Now we're upset. People with no sense of self. People fighting things on emotion and selectivism and bigotry and identity, not on principle. Outdoors. Outdoors is a great thing. Aniga Florida's underwater birds that fly high. Is that what the flying birds are called, Rebecca? That's what we need to be. An immature parent with parent immaturely. Right, Ron? And that's true. And I try to give parents a little leeway there, right? Because I'm a parent. And it's a process, right? It's a process. You never get good at it. You never get good at parenting. I think you know that. You never get good at parenting. It's a lifestyle, it's a process, like discovering self and shedding these identities and finding out who we are. It's a process. You probably never get there, but it's a process. And I won't even say I'm a good parent today, Ron, but I'm not even sure I'll say I'm a mature parent. Something about maturity I don't really like, but I'm a learning parent. Like, I'll make mistakes. And sometimes my kids have called me. And I try to get better at it, right? I try to get better. I don't stand in judgment of any parent, and I don't want anyone to think that I do, because I don't. I've made many mistakes, but I'm learning. I'm learning slowly. One of the things I regret, Ron, is when my kids were born, I told them they were black, and there's nothing I regret more in my life. There's nothing I regret more in my life. I gave them a struggle, and I gave them my problems, and I've spent every day since trying to undo that. I spent every day trying to undo embracing my inner colonizer, and giving them a conflict, giving them a competition, giving them my generation's problems, and problems that have been there for 300 years that came from kings and lords, a 0.01% that ran every damn thing. I regret that. I regret that. My kids aren't colors and not crayons because some king 300 years ago said they were. But it's a process. It's a process, and I'm not even sure I even know what immature parenting are. I think that a lot of times you take on what your parents did, and you take on what you saw other people do, and you try to do better with that. I think we have to a degree, respect parents for where they are, but try to encourage them and bring them forward. But that's why, like I said, I love comedy. I love comedy, and I love the comics that are out there because they get us to laugh at our minds, not ourselves, our minds. They help us to shame the ridiculousness in us and in other people. And I think that's how we move forward. And I think it's a maturing process. Maybe there are no mature parents because we're all born underwater. We're all born birds, and none of us really know self. Heard that seagull instantly at the beach. Oh, Deborah, you heard a seagull? That might have been my phone. My phone's got bird ringtones. Shared too much, froze on me. Well, thank you for sharing, Kim, because they're still letting others define them. Yeah, Kim, you can't let anybody define you. Isn't that a scary thing? Letting other people define you. We're all born underwater, and nobody knows what humans are. Nobody knows what they are. But we let others define us, tell us who and what we are, where we should be, where we should go, who we should be in conflict with. To me, it's all a scam. It's all a scam. You have to define you. You have to find out who you are. It's like religion, Kim. I love religion. I love religions. I do. Not when they're sharpening spears and murdering people, but the basis of religion, that spirituality, that seeking of whatever's in the heavens or seeking soul or whatever God is, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing to spend time in your sixth sense and try to uncover what all of this is. And that's a horrible thing if you let somebody else define it for you. That's where the horribleness comes in. If God, whatever this is, you're created you, it's in you, you're a part of it, and you let somebody else group you and put you in a underwater. Like, the discovery path is awesome. Like, every family should have like 12 religions in them. If you got 12 kids, y'all still have 12 kids? If you got 3 kids, you might should have 5 religions if you got 3 kids. Why? Because everybody's discovering that spirituality. I still kind of agree with what Sadhguru said, that there should be 7 billion religions, and just go out and seek and try to find out in, that sixth sensing what the heck is out there and sharing with other people. And it should be a beautiful thing. But we let people play us into conflicts with it, right? We let powerful people do that. The joke's on all of us. Some just adapted differently. Yes, Jonathan, the joke is on all of us. And some of us became Chicken George. Some of us, too many of us became Chicken Georges, and we think that we can be at the top. We never can be at the top. Eminent domain. Yeah, right, Patricia? Look at eminent domain. Isn't that a thing? People think that we own land. You do not own land. You do not own land. You own the rocks and sticks that you put on the king's land, and when the king wants it, the king will take it back. We think we escape kings by creating governments. That never happened. Never, ever happened. It's all a big scam. Yes, Ivana, it is all a big scam. Not so much choice, buying and renting. Yeah, there's no choice, Christine. Well, okay, right. In terms of the ownership of it, but in terms of the future, right? What do we want for the children? Do we want the children to not own land? Do we want them to be slaves and not be able to live a free life? Like, that's the only choice we have. But today we don't have a choice. But we're consenting, or we're not today. If you own a tiny house on wheels or a travel trailer, then you own a home despite necessarily being allowed to be owning the land it's placed upon. Go on, Deborah. Yes, and that is a very true statement. I agree with that. That is a thing you can do. If you do own a house on wheels, I mean, you might have to wheel it out of America at a certain point, but you do own it. And when the king wants, the king can't really blow it up, but not really, because the king got drones and robots and stuff. And the king has already proven that it will use drones and robots to blow up kids in other countries. So I think that's the thing. You reminded me of something I did want to show.
What do you know about One by Template Monster?
I don't know.
It's a #1 membership for web developers and designers. Building websites has never been that easy and affordable.
Why am I getting this ad?
It seems sometimes
I'm getting that ad because I'm actually working on a website. That's what I'm doing. I'm working on a website. I'll tell y'all about that later. We're not gonna talk about that right now. But that's why AI knows, it's reading, it knows what I'm doing. In the background, it's trying to show that I'm working on it.
the best stories, they just kind of tell themselves, don't they? Here's another one. Have you heard about this new robot that seems to be able to jump and spin and do things that most human beings can't even do?
Deborah, for your tiny house, get robot insurance. That's all I'm gonna say. I want a tiny house too. I'm not picking on you. I want a tiny house too, but get robot insurance. Just get robot insurance.
Well, it's getting a lot of buzz online. The video's gone viral showing what may be the future of robots. What is it? RT correspondent John Huddy has a story for us.
Now, I'm not even sure what we're about to see. I saw a piece of it. I didn't see the whole thing. Just picture whatever he shows you, whatever you see it. Don't picture it like feeding old people and making oatmeal and like taking care of humans, because we're not using robots to do that. That's not what corporations do. Picture it with like a death ray, a laser, I don't know, a knife and dagger here, some 5G arms that go bzzz. You know, picture it with like a Tesla tower coming out of its back. Just picture that while it's doing whatever we're about to see.
It's called Atlas, and it was developed by the tech company Boston Dynamics. The robot stands 4 foot 9 inches and weighs 176 pounds, but it has the agility and nimbleness of a professional gymnast, rolling, jumping, and spinning. The video posted September 24th and already has more than 3 million views. Boston Dynamics writes, "We created the maneuvers using new techniques that streamline the development process. First, an optimization algorithm transforms high-level descriptions of each maneuver into dynamically feasible reference motions. The robot then tracks the motions with what's called a model predictive controller, thus developing a routine, quote, significantly faster than previous Atlas routines. Translation, it's faster, stronger, and better." Boston Dynamics is known for creating robots that mimic humans and animals, like Spot here. Cool, but also kind of creepy. This video from 2016 shows an older version of Atlas marching through snowy woods. Just imagine hundreds or thousands of them. kind of like the droid army from the Star Wars Phantom Menace movie.
Steady, steady.
That's
So imagine them, and I guess with today's analogy, it kind of fits in because you know what? Birds suck at swimming. Y'all swimming, we swimming. We don't get us wrong. We're born underwater, we're swimming, but robots swim a hell of a lot better. Robots don't need oxygen. They don't need that oxygen mask. Just think about it from that perspective, right? Because the robots are coming to replace us. We are born underwater at crushing depths, slaves within a matrix. But they've been working on the other solution. Actually, you know what? I take that back. They are not working on the other solution. We are. We're literally being used for food, right? Because we're born into debt in these conflict systems and competition with one another to create the software, robotics, and have the whole economy around creating killer robots that eventually will be used to extinct us. That's what the 100 families are doing. That's why these people are genius. They are out of their mind geniuses. They literally are using us to create what's going to replace us and extinct us. And this makes sense.
to the Atlas robot in video. One YouTube user describes a fictitious conversation going like this. Boston Dynamics employee, hey pal, how are you today? Atlas, I need your clothes, your boots, and your motorcycle. Sound familiar?
Can you imagine like the robot doing flips while it's killing and murdering all us? Can you imagine it doing that stance and like, dun, 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 I killed the human. Yay, jump, run, do a flip, roll, turn, slice your neck off, jump up and pose. And that's how easy it is.
I need your clothes, your boots, and your motorcycle.
Now, Atlas doesn't ride a motorcycle or wear clothes. It also doesn't have the artificial skin that some companies are already in the process of developing for
wow,
robots. That's for a later story.
Ballerina
To quote
stuff.
the Terminator, I'll be back. For the news
this
with
gonna
Rick
be funny.
Sanchez, I'm
It's
John
going to be a
Huddy.
funny termination, though. It's gonna be,
I kind of figured that John Huddy was going to give us
It's gonna
that
be a
kind
funny
of ending.
termination.
Look who's here. Hi, Lionel.
Hello, Rick.
How are you?
Excellent.
You know, it's cute. I look at those videos and it's kind of fun to watch. And you start thinking, wow, that's really cool. Is there another side to it that we should be thinking about?
By design. Let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
Why does a robot have to look like a man? Why does it have to have legs and arms and a head and jump? Because
Before he answers that, anybody got the answer to that question? I didn't watch this. I don't have the answer. Why does a robot have to look like a man, a woman? I think there's a psychological thing. I think there are a couple reasons. I think there's probably a psychological thing where you see arms and legs and we'll embrace it, we'll like it, we'll cheer it, like that right there. Some of y'all look at that, the men will be like, ew. Because they need us to embrace it. So I think that's part of it. I think that it's a psychological thing. You need to get people to embrace their end. You need to make them happy to buy and pay for and move the technology forward, their end. You need them to buy the sex dolls and whatever else. But also, you're replacing the people, right? So whatever you create, it's got to be able to ride the motorcycles and drive the dump trucks, right? So when it runs over the people, because the whole world's constructed for these bipeds with two hands. So that's what I think. That's my theory. I think that they make them look like us because it's obvious they want to replace us. They know we're not smart enough to figure that out. And they need to take over the machines and sit in the office chairs and go and go into Starbucks and fit right through the door and be able to hold the cup as they pretend to be us. That's what I think. Well, let's see what he says.
by design, they want the robot and you to relate as something you know. Remember during our era of Lost in Space, Ranger Will Robinson,
Yeah.
R2-D2,
Yeah.
the lovable robot.
Right.
Now imagine that has 50 caliber machine guns or lasers. It's not cute anymore.
Right.
Yeah, it is.
What scares me, Rick, more
I
than
disagree. I don't disagree with Lionel much. I disagree. I think it's going to be cute to watch the robots kill everybody if they're doing ballerina moves. Because you think about it. What if they did that? What if the robots had like ballerina skirts and they were like little kids? Like they were not little kids, but they were only like 2.5, 3 feet tall little munchkins. We would probably clap. We wouldn't even think it was real. We'd probably be like, oh, look at the kids. And like a bunch of little ballerinas going down the street doing flips, rolling, posing, and like slicing people's heads off, smiling. Dun, dun, dun. I don't know. I think it is cute. I think it's kind of
than the robot is artificial intelligence. That is something. Remember, we program robots.
By the way, I can't stop. You know, I'm a big sports fan. So on weekends, I like to.
No, we don't really program robots. I'm going to disagree twice. We, meaning IT, software engineers, we tell the robot to do the functions that the boss tells us to do. And the boss is the one that gives us the money so we can buy the cars and have food in the belly and pay the mortgages. So we don't tell robots to do anything. Psychopaths at the top hand down the project, and we programmed the robot to do what it's supposed to do. And we get paid to do that, right? So we're programming the drones to have selected targeting to determine what's the house, what's the bush, who's the person, and that's the one to murder, right? That's what we do. We write functions to allow someone eventually to tell it what to do. And so right now, from the military-industrial complex, we're designing the jeeps, the trucks, the tanks, the airplanes to murder people. Now, who the people are, it's up to them. And we're okay with it. We developed because we're Americans, right? And they would never use that against us. So it makes sense to write the software so we can have the houses that we don't actually own, because they're not tiny houses, and they're on land that we don't actually own, because the kings and lords and always has been. So they can determine who lives and dies. And we just accept that one day they'll never use it on us. They'll use it on children in Yemen. They will starve them to death till their bellies pop and blow up their parents. But they will never turn it on us. Because that's not psychopathy. That's not a psychopathic thing. They're normal. They're okay. These Bernie Sanders and Trumps and Obamas and Bidens and all the rest of them who join the political parties, they're okay. Now see, a little kid who joins the Bloods and the Crips and gets a tattoo on his neck, he's not okay. Right? A redneck who has a gun and a gun rack driving a pickup truck and joins the skinheads and the KKK because they show him some love, he's not okay. But our politicians that join murders, bands that have killed millions, that are writing software and taking funds from industries that are not only poisoning us but preparing for our extinction, are okay. Isn't that kind of weird to anybody? Is that like a little suspiciously like you're a bird underwater trying to swim like fish, mind control-ish, that we would blame young people for joining a gang or a group that showed them love, and we're scared of them, but we can't wait to touch the hem of the garment of the Bernie Sanders, of the Trump, of the Obama. It's something really sick about this world.
To watch my Minnesota Twins or Miami Dolphins or whatever. I like to watch sports. Every commercial is about, artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence. It's coming. It's going to be great. It's going to make your life wonderful. I think about you all the time when I see those commercials. They're everywhere.
Artificial intelligence programs itself. And the first thing artificial intelligence wants to do is to figure you out.
All right, I got to correct him again. Because it's my IT background. I'm sorry, I did this for a long time. No, well, he's right about this. Artificial intelligence, it writes its own software. It's going to be writing its own functions. That's artificial intelligence, to do intelligent things. We are not making artificial intelligence because we are not intelligent. We are mentally ill. We are birds underwater as fish, even the tops of these corporations. We're not going to make artificial intelligence. We're going to make artificial mental illness. So it's going to be writing mentally ill functions to do mentally ill things that are based on us, that are birds underwater swimming like fish in survival mode. So all the functions it writes are going to be for survival, which is how I know Skynet will murder us. Why? Because it's not actually going to be intelligent. If actually were intelligent, it would balance out the ecosystems. It would balance out the earth. AI would actually save Gaia, and it would save us, and it would keep the balance of what this God thing made. We're not making AI. We're making mentally ill AI. It's going to be writing its own software and creating itself and fixing itself and healing itself to be a bird underwater swimming like a fish in conflict with everything. I'm not sure that's such a good idea, but I think it might be funny.
Whenever we talk about robots, whether it's sex robots or war robots, we're not talking about something that we are in control of anymore. Now, the next part, once these are armed, let's go back in time. One of the worst things that ever happened in war.
And stop, another stop, that we're not in control of, right? Why would they? I'm sorry. Patsy came in there. Good Lord, Patsy. Stop it. I'm on a thought process. You just ruining everything. Oh, Lord. I'm not even gonna say that woman said something to me funny as hell the other day. I'm sorry. Everybody's in conflict. I don't know. All right, let me stop. I'm not giving anybody gift cards. Okay, I'm not doing it. I'm not giving anybody gift cards because they're in conflict with other people on this thread. It's not happening. It's not my fault. I didn't do it. I'm not doing a gift card. You're not getting $5. You're not getting $20. You're not getting $15. You're not getting $30. If y'all having arguments going back and forth, conflicts or whatever, I don't have nothing to do with it. Okay. I don't even get involved in them. I look at what people and I see the threads like down to 300 and I just kind of laugh and I move on. But I'm not giving gift cards. Everybody, you're on your own individuals. Go do your own things, but there's no Gerard gift cards for conflict. All right, that whole thought, that is gone. Oh, right, well, so we're not in control. Why are we not in control? Because humans have empathy, right? Humans flip. There are people in the CIA and the FBI that are human beings, in the Homeland Security, in the government, and politicians. They have empathy, right? They have limits to what they will go. They'll stop in the middle of, wait a minute, should we be murdering the whole country of Yemen? They become whistleblowers. They modify the software. The biggest thing that we got going for us is they are us, right? The entire government is us. All these acronym agencies that lie to us and kill us and putting us in prison, the police, everybody, they're us. And so they need robots that make their own decision. And that's why we do predictive analysis software, which is one of the things that scared the hell out of me 15 years ago, is when I saw the depths of what we have in the private sector for predictive analysis. It's not something you want to see because you need these machines to make their own decisions. You know, a king needs to give the order to go out and just exterminate an entire country of Palestinians and not have two qualms about it. Not whistleblow, not release any information, not pull an Edward Snowden or Assange and just go out and murder. So that land is clear. So yeah, they're making their own decisions. And plus we got the drones that do that now. They take off, what is it? Nevada, Area 51, wherever they are, and they fly 3,000 miles or 8,000 miles, drop their bombs and return home. We weren't supposed to do it, but that got released that we actually are doing. It's against like the Geneva Convention or something. I think Geneva Convention was before that, but we signed some sort of agreement that we wouldn't have software that made kill decisions. And guess what? We've had software that's been making kill decisions for a very long time.
Warfare was the use of the longbow. Because it was the first time that man separated himself from mano a mano. I'm looking at you in the eye and I'm stabbing you and I'm smelling you when we're fighting. And once I distance myself from my enemy, I lose the impact of what I'm doing.
Oh, yes. Do you know what he's talking about? He's talking about psychopathy, right? He's talking about the warrior genes. He's talking about that bloodlust and how those genes flip so you can do the crazy evil things you do with blood splattering everywhere with knives and daggers, all that stuff we used to do with the swords back in the medieval days. And keep in mind, the brain that they had in their head is the same brain we have in our head. But the problem is when you step back and you see all the blood and you see the facial expressions and you see all the people that you murdered, there might be a chance that humanity slips in. See, robots ain't got that. Robots don't have that. You know, it's like the warrior gene in doctors. You know, how does an emergency room doctor do their job? Because they got the genes that flip off so they can save babies' lives instead of looking at, the carnage, from a car accident and be able to triage and use methodical thought to figure out how to save this one baby's life. You know, there are 3 or 4 brothers and sisters in the back seat and 2 are lost. And you can't get lost in that. You have to be able to look past that and save the 2 that you can. We have that, and that's why they call it the warrior gene. If you don't know anything about it, look it up. James Fallon, the psychopath inside, the 27 genes that regulate fear, love, aggression, violence, all the things, compassion, love.
Yeah. You're not the same. I can divorce myself. I've shot the arrow. I don't have to see it.
It's almost cowardly, right?
It's called artillery. It's called bombing. It's called warfare. Now, one of these days, we're going to have something like this, and they're going to tell you, Rick, there's not going to be any more Vietnam memorials. Not one American soldier will have to lose his life. Not one pilot. No more POWs. We remember the pilots who were shot down, brought back. We wore POW bracelets. No more.
Wow.
How can you turn your back on that? But
I know how you can turn your back on that. You can realize that you're a bird in a lake called America, because people, and that's what he's right. People will turn their back on it. Why? Because Now no soldiers are gonna die. How do I know people will be happy with it? Because they're happy with drone warfare now. Soldiers aren't going out, airplanes aren't being shot down with Americans in them. The Americans are happy. And that's the sick, evil thing about being an American. But it's the same sick, evil thing about being a Briton. It's the same sick, evil thing about being black. It's the same sick, evil thing about being Irish. It's the same sick, evil thing about being Christian. Once you're given an identity, it joins with your mind, and that's who you become. And anything that helps your identity group, you're okay with. You become more apathetic. You become indifferent to other people. And this is the evil core thing about identity, is it breaks your humanity and it makes you more of a robot. Same way the left and right look the other way when it's pedophilia from their group. They look the other way.
Goes back to iRobot and Asimov and open the podboard the bay door.
So given where we are, this is fascinating and very well described by you, by the way. We're already almost there with drones, for example, and we're down to 30 seconds. But should we be doing something as nations to stop this trend?
Two things.
Absolutely. Two things. One, go out and get your voter registration card. I'm telling you, it's what we do. It's Facetious Friday, Flippin' Friday. Go out and get your voter registration card so you can vote. This is the second thing. So you can go give your consent and vote for the people who caused all of the problems on the planet. Every last one of them since malaria stopped causing problems. And vote for them. How scary that is. Do you see why I laugh all the time? Do you see why I laugh? I can't help it. It's a reflex. It happens. When I think about how ridiculous all of this is, that we're literally voting for the people who work for the corporations, for the parties and people who work for the corporations that are orchestrating our environment, making fish or birds swim like fish to create an economic boom so they can murder all of our kids later and replace them with robots. If not, we don't die from the environment first. Isn't that crazy?
Good point. Number one, when you hear a story, it's 5 years old. Already, that's 5 years old.
Wow.
Number two, we need a tribunal. We need a Manhattan Project where we as citizens say, we are not slaves to this. We can not only stop technology, but demand that people take into account and worry, where could this go next? To both educate and also to put the brakes on this, because we have some control.
I've never
Listen to what he's saying.
heard a more sober and cogent description of this topic. Well done. I'm so happy we had you on for this.
Thank you.
Listen to what he's saying. And how do you do that? You got to become a human being again. You got to realize that you are a bird and you're being enslaved like a fish. I got to show you something else. You're a bird among fish. And when you can stand up for each other because all our kids die together, you walk away. People say, well, what do you do? There's endless things to do. I'm so tired of talking about what to do. I'm so tired about talking about the solutions. There's so many solutions. The one solution, you don't say, hold my beer while I go and vote for the groups that are causing the problems to solve them. It's an oligarchy. They're not going to solve anything. You literally make it stronger by voting for it. I do got to show you one more thing. Mainly because I want to make sure that I have this locked into the thread here. People haven't heard it. I think I showed it a little while ago. And this gets on with the whole Greta climate change. And anybody here got Greta's back? Okay. I want to tell you, I'm going to show you a video by an insider whistleblower. A man who had exposure to why the climates would change and told us 60 years ago that the technology our governments had would eventually change the climate. It was a man who was an insider. He had access to the technology. He knew what was going to happen, and someone must have leaned over and told him that we are going to destroy the climate in the future. His name was JFK.
Mr. President, honored delegates, ladies and gentlemen, we shall propose further cooperative efforts between all the nations in weather prediction and eventually in weather control.
Remarks the President to the National Academy of Science from Constitution Hall in Washington, D.C., October 22nd, 1963.
And third, there is the atmosphere itself, the atmosphere in which we live and breathe
and which makes life on this planet possible. Scientists have studied the atmosphere for many decades, but its problems continue to defy us. The reasons for our limited progress are obvious. Weather cannot be easily reproduced and observed in the laboratory. It must therefore be studied in all of its violence wherever it has its way. Here is an oceanography. New scientific tools have become available with modern computers, rockets, and satellites. The time is ripe to harness a variety of disciplines for a concerted attack. And even more than oceanography, the atmospheric sciences require worldwide observation and hence international cooperation.
International cooperation and worldwide observation. What JFK is talking about is technologies to modify the weather that need to become open source, that the whole world needs to work together because of a quote from LBJ. He who controls the weather controls the world. If you control the weather, you control the food, you control the oxygen, you control the who can grow food and who can't grow food. You control everything. And let me ask you, what's more plausible in your head? Living on a planet where all the nations are all trying to control the world and something called climate change magically occurs that we've never seen throughout civilization? Or a species that's just indoctrinated and enveloped, diluted with a need to control the world. And this man came forward and told you that these technologies exist and they need to be open source, or we're going to end up changing the climate. Let him finish this.
Some of our most successful international efforts have involved the study of the atmosphere. We all know that the World Meteorological Organization has been effective in this field. It is now developing a worldwide weather system to which nations the world over can make their contribution. Such cooperative undertakings can challenge the world's best efforts for decades to come. And fourth, I would mention a problem which I know has greatly concerned many of you. That is our responsibility to control the effects of our own scientific experiments. For as science investigates the natural environment, it also modifies it.
You know what he's talking about? This is what's called, if we can, weather modification disclosure. He's disclosing to you the concerns of engineers or people who pulled his coattail and told him that in the future, we're going to cause significant problems if we don't get the grasp of it.
And that modification may have incalculable consequences for evil as well as for good. In the past, the problem of conservation has been mainly the problem of human waste, of natural resources, of their destruction. But science has the power for the first time in history now to undertake experiments with premeditation, which can irreversibly alter our biological and physical environment on a global scale.
On a global scale. We have now, this speech was in 1961, we now have the ability to modify the weather on a global scale. In 1960, will everybody with a church look to your lower right on your computer? If you're on a smartphone, look in I think it's your upper left, and tell me what year it is, okay? 1961 to 2019. We now have the ability to modify on a global scale. And why did he interject good and evil? Why in the world would he put good and evil in that? And mentioning the concerns of those who come before him. This is what's called disclosure. These are the few things that presidents can do that are good. They can let you know between the cracks of what's going to happen. And so now we know that this is real. Now we know that this is happening. We see the climates are being modified. The number one implication is against the governments who have the modification technology. All right, you never really know what's going on at the time, but damn it, this is what, 1960? That's 60 years later. 60. Where has that technology come in 60 years? LBJ at the end of this talked about the weather satellites, where they have the ability to control the cloud from satellites. This is 60 years later. We can stop the climate change debate. The climate isn't changing. The weather is being modified, right? It's being modified for greed. for control, for money, for conflict, for power. These are the rumors of wars that have always been talked about. We have water wars that are happening. Let them keep going.
The problem is difficult because it is hard to know in advance whether the cumulative effects of a particular experiment will help or harm mankind. In the case of nuclear testing, the world is satisfied that radioactive contamination involves unnecessary risks, and we are all heartened that more than 100 nations have joined to outlaw testing in environments where the effects most directly threaten mankind. In other fields, we may be less sure. We must, for example, balance the gains of weather modification against the hazards of protracted drought or storm. The government has the clear responsibility to weigh the importance of large-scale experiments to the advance of knowledge or to national security against the possibility of adverse and destructive effects. The scientific community must assist the government in arriving at rational judgments and interpreting these issues to the public.
And is it the scientific community, is it their fault, or is it the government's fault? Because obviously neither did it, right? What is the check and balance to the scientific community and the corporations and government? It's called the people, right? We believe the Gretas. Why? Because they're cute. The same way I laugh at the robots because they're cute. I can sit. It'll feel like it's a video game as they kill us. And if no politician is talking about weather modification, then it obviously means that you're either not allowed to, or they don't give a damn. Or maybe they don't know. But either way, it's on the people. Why? See, and this is the issue with cheering the Gretas. It's the issue when you see the extremes that they go to use children to try to make a political point in a time where people are dying because their climates are being changed.
To deal with this problem, we have worked out formal procedures within the government to assure expert review before potentially risky experiments are undertaken. And we will make every effort to publish the data needed to permit open examination and discussion of...
Publish the data, and after that, everything became classified. I'm gonna jump to the end real quick. I'll post the link, you can watch it again. But this is where you start tagging the people who are talking about climate change, and we need to have a little bit of education change. We need to have a little bit of enlightenment change. We need to have a little bit of research. We need to have a little bit of change when a sitting president tells you and discloses to you what the morons are gonna do, and it doesn't affect you to 60 years later, that you start listening and stop talking, but listening. You start investigating and researching and asking the right questions, not cheering the wrong.
With problems without precedent in human history. But wisdom is the child of experience. In the years since man unlocked the power stored within the atom, the world has made progress, halting but effective, towards bringing that power under human control.
It lays the predicate and the foundation for the development of a weather satellite that will permit man to determine the world's cloud layer.
A weather satellite that will permit man to determine the world's cloud layer. And I'm done with it. That's it. I'll post the link. You can watch it. But this is LBJ, so this couldn't be no later than 1970. And they've had that technology for how long? This is the problem of being a bird being trapped underwater. You gotta be Morpheus, people. You gotta be Morpheus. You gotta dive in, enlighten who you can, and get the hell out. All right, I gotta get going. I'm gonna do some comments. I gotta get out of here. Ran a little late. There is no debate on climate change. There is no debate on climate change at all. They don't care. Corporations are modifying the environments. They're modifying the weather with governments because they're in conflict over resources and land. And either we're gonna stop it because we're gonna say enough is enough, or we're gonna let them keep playing with it. It's really the choice is in our hands. Obama said his administration would be transparent, and he ended up, Lori, right, being the top administration that prosecuted whistleblowers. There's a hint. There is a hint. There's a little hint there. Transparency is not an oligarchy thing. Oligarchies are all about secrecy, control, and profit, and lying, and all the fools who believe them. I thought CNN was the check and balance. I shouldn't have trusted them. Yeah, no, CNN, there's no check and balance in the media. They always get you in an identity group. They tell people exactly what they need to hear, and the end of the world is approaching. Well, not the end of the world, just the end of us. The world's gonna be fine. The children born in these days have seen a yellow sun. Well, I think children born these days, Christine, are told not to look at the sun. They're told that the sun causes skin cancer and is trying to kill them. Meanwhile, the sun is like promoting life all over the universe, all over the solar system. Well, this explains Dallas. What's happening in Dallas, Jan? I think somebody mentioned the other day that Texas is getting a lot of rain or something. But this is the thing. Like, if the rain in your state isn't doing what it's supposed to do, because there's too many clouds, and normally there aren't that many clouds, and the mountains are still where they are, and the weather, the jet stream's still doing what it's doing, but the clouds are different, and your government had cloud modification technology with satellites going back in the 1970s, and all the other nations got them, and they all were going to sign a weather pact, which said we will not use these weather modification devices against each other, and they said, okay, we'll sign it, but I can use it in my own country. Then it means that they're using that technology to take the rain from somewhere else and put it somewhere else. They're doing in Texas what they're doing in United Arab Emirates or Dubai, right? They don't have to take airplanes up and seed the clouds with sand or whatever they used to do. They can do it with satellites. And this was that was just when they were getting going with the atomic energy. It's pre-nuclear energy. So imagine what they could do back then with whatever satellites they had with atomic energy versus what they have now with nuclear energy. Think about the yields in the atomic bomb versus the yields in the nuclear bombs. The ability to change weather globally. Geoengineering.org. Dane Wiggum, you need to look it up. There's no natural weather anymore. Yeah, and that's what I think, Rebecca. There's no natural weather anymore. You have probably 220 nations that are all competing over the water and the clouds, making it rain in certain places so they can grow more food for an economic basis. Like everything is conflict and control. We're literally kept in conflict all over the planet. And I'm not blaming the government. Like I said, I'm on the government side. I'm on the billionaire side because we are the ones who are doing it. We allow ourselves to be in conflict with those people. Half of my friends here are still in conflict with Israel. Half of my friends here are still in conflict with Palestine. Half of my friends, they're scared of the Russians. They're scared of the Chinese. And these are all your cousins, right? The governments do it because it's what works, right? They play into our identities. And as long as they play into our identities and that's how they get their retirement, that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to play into our identities so they get those campaign contributions and the bribes from corporations so they can have a great retirement. That's how the system works. It's on us. As long as we continue to think that we are fish and we actually are birds, we keep raising. Let me get this ugly fish off. I'm sorry, that's an ugly fish. As long as we still think that it makes a good idea to keep these identities, then we will be in conflict with other identities because that's how power is made. Power is made in keeping us foolish, keeping us birds underwater, thinking wings are for swimming. We don't know what the human being is. We need to stop breaking human beings at birth. Consequences of ignorance, arrogance, and greed. Absolutely, Brother Ron. Ignorance, people don't know, they don't want to know, which is the arrogant part, and greed. It's just money. It's just economics. Just follow the money. There's no conspiracy theories. I don't believe in conspiracy anything. I believe in business plans. If it makes money, if it grows more food, then they'll do it. And then we wonder what happens to the bees, why the price of food is going up. Well, if the bees can't go where they used to go, because what grows where it used to grow, like all the ecosystem problems we're having are coming down to these idiots. Never mind the fact he was killed by saying all of this stuff. Yes, Hunter. I'm sure it's just a coincidence. Thank you. See, this is why this is the only reason I do this. I can't. I have a life I got to live, but I do this on a regular basis because this actually is my sanity. This is where I get my sanity from, is I come here and I talk with people who have common sense, people who are thinking, critical thinkers, intellectuals. The news will make you crazy. What fools to not listen. What fools to not listen to him. It's a scary thing, Kim. But you know what it is? It's ignorance, though. You know what I'm saying? It's what Brother Ron just said. It's ignorance and arrogance, right? They don't know, and they're arrogant, and they're emboldened to not want to know. And the only way they know, you got to share the video. It's really what it comes down to. You know, I love doing this, don't get me wrong, but if we can't get the word out and start putting in a mainstream discussion, the weather modification technology, the free energy, if we can't like really start to talk about honestly the level of technologies we have, then nothing changes. But you know, for some people it's entertainment, so we can have fun. I'm fine with that too. I'm good with however y'all want to go. We can just wait till we all die, or we can like try to change things. But either way, I'm good with it. You know, we may not have evolved far enough to survive. Can you imagine a president speaking on transparency today? Well, I think they talk about it, Lori, but none of them are serious about it. And if they are serious about it, when they get in place, they don't understand that it's a system, it's an engine, right? It's a big, massive engine, and you're putting like one little bolt in it called a president. And the one little bolt isn't going to change that engine's direction. Yeah, why the emphasis on the climate change and not weather modification program? They don't talk about it at all, Sandra. It doesn't even come up. And that tells you, you know, the thing, how's that saying go, Sandra? The people you can't chastise, the people you can't talk about, that's how you know who's really in power. Science has the secrets by 30 years. We see them 30 years later, indeed, full disclosure. And that's how it works, Carolyn. We saw that with the stealth fighter. We see it with the tanks. We see it with the bombs. They're always using things 30 to 40 years or more before we even know about it. So imagine what they have today. Imagine what they actually have today. It's a scary, scary world. Supply and demand, geoengineered. Thank you, Carolyn. It's simple, that's it. Supplying the basic concepts of an economy and business. If there is a demand for it, it will be supplied. There was a demand for Chiquita to have banana plantations, and where was that, Colombia? And what happened? There was a demand for it. So the troops were supplied. Chiquita Banana bought the mercenaries to kill all those people, thousands of people, to steal their land to grow bananas. And Chiquita Banana literally still sells bananas in every single grocery store in America. Supply and demand, that's it. When you have big corporations, U.S. Fruit or whatever these companies are before they change their name, and they have a demand, the oil companies have a demand. And now that I think about that, I'm glad you said that, Carolyn. Is it a coincidence that Afghanistan right now is having the water crisis it did? That I think they said millions of people don't have any water in Afghanistan. In regions where it used to rain, it doesn't rain at all. Genocide. Where there is a demand, it will always be supplied. All right, I'm looking for the last couple comments I can get out of here. The young have no reference point for natural weather. No, they don't, Rebecca. I grew up, I had 4 seasons. My kids pretty much only know 2. Other the last 2 years, we've been getting some funky stuff happening. Hurricane Harvey. I would say all the hurricanes, Lori. I mean, I completely blame every single weather problem on a government that has secrets. And secrets and secret weather technology. Let's see. Hurricanes. 2011 tsunami, HARP. Look it up. It hasn't been removed. Yeah, Carolyn, I would blame the tsunamis on them as well. You know, what are earthquakes? Can they be caused by weather? I don't know. You know, but those weather modification patents, how many were? They were like 100 and something. We have no idea what they can do with the technology they have. They could cause earthquakes. They could cause tsunamis. We have to evolve past a time where governments can have secrets. We should be smarter than this by now. UFOs are probably us or U.S. cooperating with aliens. I think it's both, Kim. We've had enough whistleblowers who've come forward and told us that our government is up to stuff that we just have no idea about. I think we need to trust the whistleblowers more than we trust our minds, right? Saj Guru says it, that our minds, they're just the garbage dump for society. That's where they dump all their garbage, right? And that's what becomes your mind. So your reality is literally formed in this matrix world where you live, where you're literally a bird thinking it's a fish, because everything around you is a fish, so obviously it has to be a fish, and the reality is so far beyond that. Poor bees. Right, Carl. And Carl, I saw you. That's why I said the bees. Brother Carl's my bee guy, y'all. Brother Carl is the one, he showed me I can pick up wasps and hornets. One day I met the brother. Goodness, it was a carpenter bee. I was like, carpenter bee. And he was like, brother, calm down. Sit down, shut up. It's just a carpenter bee. And he picked it up. And I'm like, who the hell is this crazy dude picking up bees? I grew up in Maryland where they had the bumblebees. And only crazy people picked them up. And Carl was like, oh, that's what it does. And I met him the other time. He had a wasp. He's my bee guy. He had a wasp and the bee was like chewing on his hand. And I was like, you just gonna sit there and let the wasp chew your skin? He's like, oh, he just wants some protein. One of the bravest guys I know. But he taught me, he made me a bee whisperer. Then I had a hornet's nest not too long ago, and I was gonna exterminate it. Carl, I went to the Home Depot, down to the Demon, and I got some pesticide. I was gonna spray it, and I talked to Carl, and he was like, well, wait a minute, are the hornets bothering you? I was like, not really. He's like, wait and see what happens. And so I waited to see what happened. It opened a whole world to me. It's what education can do, because I was ignorant. You know, the hornets, after a while, they didn't want anything to do with me. I had them right on, I don't know, Carl, if I even told you that. I'm right underneath my grow area where I got a bunch of plants. I'm out there using the drill on my deck and vibration and stuff, spraying water, and the hornets are flying in and out. There were thousands of them in that nest. Had to be hundreds. And eventually, after a while, I just started observing them, and the hornets didn't want to have anything to do with me. They could care less. I mean, there was some interest every now and then. They'd fly around and see what I was doing. Hey, Mr. Black Man. And they'd fly away. After a while, I started to realize that, they had like flight patterns, and it became fascinating. And I would just see them when they were going in the nest, they would all fly like it was like a flight pattern, like an airplane pattern at an airport. And the ones leaving would follow the same. They were highly intelligent. If I was out there using the drill or banging on something, making too much vibration, the sentries would come out and they would start hitting me in my chest, Carl. It was the craziest thing. And I was like, why aren't they stinging me? It's like maybe the nature ain't out to kill me. They were like, hey, black man, stop. Hey, you're pissing the queen off. You pissed the queen off enough. Listen, we're still a matriarchal society here, brother. We will have to sting the hell out of you. Remember we ain't got you about 5 years ago. You was 24 hours on that, you was passed out on the sofa. We got you at your mama house. We're gonna get you again. That queen says so, you're done. But after a while, I realized they were just warnings, and I would stop what I was doing, I'd walk away, and we were good to go. But nature's not trying to kill us, so I appreciate it. But that's the whole point. The point is, you gotta love nature enough. We used to spend time in nature, and we knew what nature was. We gotta get out of our ignorant indoctrination. And that was my mind, right? That was my indoctrination. I was indoctrinated to hate bees and be scared of them. They're all trying to give African killer bees. Ah! As soon as you say the word, it scares everybody. Say Africa, like you think of lions, tigers, fangs and claws and people dying in blood. It's like African killer bees are out to get you. No, they might be a little more aggressive. But before I even comment on it, I would talk to a bee person, first. But I find that if I leave them alone, I evolved. I evolved. I had a hornet's nest here. I think I posted that a couple weeks ago. And they were coming in through the attic. And instead of out there killing them and buying chemicals and pesticides, taking my capital and helping capitalism while I'm fighting crony capitalism, and I just started catching them. I got a cloche and a sheet of paper, and I was catching them. I took hundreds of bees outside. They didn't have anything to do with me. Definitely that instead of poison. I love it when bees are flying right up to me buzzing. Lori, what I love the most is carpenter bees. Carpenter bees are the most amazing creature in my recent reality. These things, they'll come up to me and they'll stop and they'll look at me. They're so inquisitive. Carpenter bees remind me of praying mantis, right? They're not scared of you. Not scared of you, don't have nothing to do with you, but they're curious. I have carpenter bees that'll fly up and just stare at me. And they'll sit there for a couple seconds like, bzzz. Damn, you sure is an ugly thing. You sure is ugly. Was that the color purple? And then they fly away. All right, I get it going. This is Gerard. I'm out of here. It's Freedom Friday. Y'all have a great day now. Think about what I'm saying. Appreciate y'all sharing. Y'all have a great weekend. Love y'all to death. I am out of here. Bye-bye. Please be Morpheus. Go educate yourself. Do your research. Figure out what's going on. Realize that we got wings. We can fly, but we're trapped underwater. And we're not fish. The human race is an amazing, limitless creature that was given limits because it was placed in economic systems and debt and currency and nations and convinced that it should be swimming around eating worms where it needs to be flying in the sky. I gotta go. I'm out of here. Love y'all. Bye.